Dina Sayegh-Dahl. Dina, thank you so much for joining us today. The criminal charges of sexual assault against Kevin Spacey were dropped in New York. So why was the civil case allowed to move forward?
Well, essentially, the criminal charges weren't involving Anthony Rapp. They were involving another male who accused him of sexual assault. And they were dropped because that person pled the fifth in relation to that case, and so the prosecutors were no longer able to move forward. Anthony Rapp wasn't able to have criminal charges related to his accusation because of the length of time. The New York Child Victims Act, which he is suing under, lengthens the statute of limitations for both criminal and civil, but it doesn't for civil longer, and that's why he's able to sue here still.
I see. So still, though, in a civil case, the burden of proof still falls on the plaintiff, so that's Anthony Rapp. What do they need to prove in order to win Rapp's case?
So basically, they need to prove the burden of proof is lower in a civil case versus a criminal. They have to prove by a preponderance of evidence that this sexual assault did occur. That is, as you said, the burden of Anthony Rapp to prove whether or not this did indeed happen to him.
So back in 2017, Kevin Spacey released a statement admitting he did not remember the encounter, but apologized for what he calls deeply inappropriate drunken behavior. Does that carry any weight in this case, being drunk or not remembering it? What are the changes we will see Spacey, or what are the chances we'll see Spacey take the stand to defend himself?
Well, it's interesting because in a later deposition, Kevin Spacey tried to walk away from that statement. He said, you know, in a moment I said this, but now upon reflection, I would never have done it because younger boys, quote, wasn't my thing. And now the plaintiff is kind of using that because they want to introduce two other men who say that Kevin Spacey also sexually assaulted him among that time. One of them would have been 16 years old. The judge hasn't quite ruled on that, but the plaintiff is using his later deposition saying, I'm not into young men, saying if he decides to testify similarly to that statement and deposition in court, they want to use that other witness to rebut his statement.
Yeah, and he's pleaded not guilty for the sexual assault charges in the UK. He'll stand trial next year for that. How will, if at all, this civil trial potentially impact Spacey's criminal trial abroad?
Well, because these are two different countries, two different jurisdictions, really the only way that this trial or even that one could be affected at all is if the potential jurors are somehow so swayed by the press around these other charges that they can't be impartial. But that's why it's really both of the sides really methodically go through a jury pool. In high profile cases like this, they always start with a very large jury pool, knowing that a lot of jurors will say that they can't put aside a fixed opinion, but that's what they're looking for. Even if a juror has seen the media press, can they put aside any opinion they may have forward to be impartial in this case?
All right, we will see indeed. Dina Sayegh-Dahl, attorney and legal analyst, thank you so much for being here this morning. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me.